Welcome back to the channel. Today we have so many more new roses for you. We also have some of the old ones stuck in here, but I'll skip those. I'll of course let you know what they are, but I'll skip them quite easily or more elegantly. I won't use a lot of time on them. This one is of course Goethe, myrrh fragrance, some Gallican damask fragrance stuck in there. Very potent on fragrance, 10 out of 10 for me. Then you have Wollerton Old Hall, one of the most beautiful myrrh fragrances you can get in a rose, and in my opinion the best rose Austin has bred on fragrance. I really like this one, and I sometimes question if I did an injustice when I made it a 9 out of 10, not a 9.5 or 10 out of 10. I actually believe it deserves a little bit higher rating, but it is one of the best scented myrrh roses you can get. Only issue is it doesn't like to flower a lot, but a really solid Austin rose. And up here you have Pierre. Now Pierre is a kind of a taller white rose from Milan. The issue I have with Pierre is not the scent. The scent is a very strong 8.5 fruit fragrance. The issue I have is how long it spends in the budding stage. Like a lot of other roses, like the Perfumer collection, I often experience when a rose takes like 3 to 4 weeks to fully develop, that the rain can really come in and ruin the rose, and Pierre is no exception. It takes a long time to develop these very large blooms that are like 12 to 14 centimeters across, and sadly during those 3 weeks before it fully unfolds, it can get a lot of water damage, and that is really the reason I'm not so keen on this one as I was before, and also sometimes the winter hardiness is not always the greatest. But it is one of the very few very potent scented whites, and you don't have a lot of those out in the world, so often they come with some trade-offs, and Pierre is for sure a trade-off between that 8.5 powerful fruity perfume and the balling tendency. And over here you have Robie. Now Robie is a very decently scented 7.5 myrrh and licorice scent. It is also quite healthy. It makes these more yellow centers with a more white edge, and so far it has done decently well. I'm waiting to see how well it performs over the next many years, but for now I can confirm that this is a scented rose with a myrrh and a licorice fragrance to it. And these two down here I won't spend much time on. Perfume Fashion, wonderful miniature. I just did a review on for fragrance. I'm still a bit worried about black spot on that one, but it is one of the few miniatures I've noticed with a powerful citrus scent. Up here you have Pacific Blue, and you have Novalis. Novalis, only a 4 out of 10 tea fragrance. Wonderful large cup blooms, also decently healthy. About an 8 out of 10 for me in health, but honestly I prefer growing Pacific Blue. It is just as healthy, 8 out of 10 on health, but it has a powerful 8.5 on fragrance. And the fragrance on this one, if I had to describe it, yeah, it is a damask fragrance for me. Citrus and damask, 8.5. Over here you have modern art again. I won't use a lot of time on that. I have noticed as my modern art is going around these 4 years now, I have noticed that it is getting a bit of a green tea it has a green tea fragrance, but it is getting a bit of a green apple fragrance also to it. But honestly, it is not enough to call it a fragrant rose. I only give that one like a 5 at most. And here you have Julia Child. Julia Child, when it just starts out, it has a wonderful yellow color to it. But as it ages and get older, you get this more cream white color. You'll hear a lot of people saying this is very strongly fragrant. Well, you can get lucky when it is this bright yellow here and has just started out, that it'll give you a 6 out of 10 licorice scent. But really, you grow this one for reflowering and for health, not really for the fragrance. And let's skip to a back row here. Here you of course have Graf Linard again. I will say about the Graflenard that I was out taking another rose cutting from it, and the rose cutting I got this time was a bit more fragrant than the other one I had stuck inside. That was giving me more of these 6.5 spice notes. I think the new one here, yeah, I think that will be more like a 7.5. There's a bit more strength to the fragrance on the one I've just been out cutting. So maybe this one will get better with time, but for now it is not my favorite of these reds on fragrance. It seems a bit more unstable, a bit more light on the fragrance, to be honest with you. And here we have a Duftzauber. I have never done Duftzauber for you guys, but it is another red I'm growing in the garden. A lot of people say it's very strongly fragrant. Let's give it a whiff here. Yeah, I'm getting raspberry and tea from this one. Mainly raspberry finished off with a little bit of tea. I'm thinking this one will end somewhere between a 7 and a 7.5 on fragrance. It is not the one that is impressing me the most again, but I'm keeping an eye out for these two and will let you know. But right now, these three over here, Red Perfume de France and Deep Secret and Velvet Fragrance, are really the ones that are impressing me the most on fragrance. And here you of course have Molyneux. Molyneux is a wonderful yellow rose, not a lot of scent to it, only a 4 to 5 green tea fragrance in my opinion. It does tend to bloom decently once it gets going, but what I really don't like about it is it gets kind of tall, kind of gangly sometimes, but to be honest with you, I would probably go with Julia Child or something like Molyneux. Also much cheaper, you can get nearly 3 Julia Child for the price of 1 Molyneux. So Molyneux, in my opinion, even though it's a decent rose, you can afford to skip that one in the Austin collection. It is nowhere near as fragrant as Poet's Wife or something like a Country Parson or even Bring Me Sunshine. And yeah, here we of course had Velvet Fragrance. Again, wonderful raspberry fragrance on that one. Really potent, really strong raspberry fragrance. And here you have, I think we'll do Rose de Korsar first. Yeah, and here you have Rose de Korsar. Rose de Korsar has nearly no fragrance. Normally I give roses, if they have just a faint tea fragrance, I give them 4 out of 10. But really this rose is completely dead on fragrance. I'm getting no fragrance from Rose de Korsar whatsoever. But it does make a large bush with a lot of red flowers. It can get completely covered in red flowers. So if you want a massive bush just covered in red flowers, Rose de Korsar is not a bad choice for you. It's a very solid choice for that. Just don't expect fragrance on that one. And then we have Deep Secret here. To be honest with you, Deep Secret has really impressed me, or Mildred Shield as I'm also call it. That rose has really impressed me. Very healthy, very fragrant. I actually think it is getting close to a 9 in fragrance now instead of an 8.5. It is really getting into the Mr. Lincoln territory for me. Oh yes, yeah. Honestly, if you guys love Mr. Lincoln, you'll probably love Deep Secret too. But the difference is, in my opinion, Deep Secret is much more healthy than Mr. Lincoln and much more frost hardy. It does have a bit more thorns though, but honestly I like Deep Secret much more now than I do roses like Mr. Lincoln, Graf and Diana, and all the others like Monstead Wood. It is a really solid rose, both on health and on fragrance. This one really, really solid. And then you of course have Velvet Fragrance. Velvet Fragrance is my most favorite red rose on fragrance, of course. Rated at 10 out of 10 by me. Honestly, it doesn't get much better than Velvet Fragrance in my opinion. And what I really like about Velvet Fragrance is there's so many complex fragrance notes stuck in there. If I really had to compare them, Deep Secret and Velvet Fragrance, I feel like Deep Secret can sometimes get a bit too opulent. There's a lot of damask and these red fruits and these notes stuck in there, and can get a bit sweet. What I really like about Weller Fragrance is it has those same notes, but it finishes off with a bit of citrus, so you still have this lightness, this where it doesn't cling too much to the nose, where it just gets much more pleasant, in my opinion, in the scent. So Weller Fragrance beats Deep Secret on the complexity of scent, in my opinion. And it is my most favorite red rose of the ones I'm growing in my garden. And as you guys can see, I'm growing a lot of red roses out there. I started out having 15 red roses, where a lot of them were the classics that people recommend: Graf and Diana, Mr. Lincoln, Munstead Wood, what's the other one called? Grafen von Hardenberg. And I started out with these 15 roses, and then I wasn't really happy with Mr. Lincoln and a lot of the other ones. So don't get me wrong, Mr. Lincoln is a wonderful rose and scent. It just doesn't stand up to my Scandinavian winters here. It often freezes a lot back and then barely hangs on, and then it is surviving, but it tends to cling in there really. So after I was a bit unhappy with those 15, and don't get me wrong, Grafen von Hardenberg was one of the roses I was happy with, but it is a kind of a different look from these more traditional reds. Then I decided to buy close to, I think it was like, I can't remember, it was 33 or 35 of the most fragrant red varieties. And I have been growing those scents, as you can see now, and that's really what is paying dividends now, because now I get to share what the fragrances are with you guys. And I think at the end of the year I'm going to be making a tier list for red roses, and I'm going to be ranking the red roses I have in my garden now, and I'm going to be ranking them on health and fragrance for you guys, so it is easier for you to choose. Right now I do have 2 roses that seems to be doing well on blooming and health, and those are Ingrid Bergman and also Homage a Barbara. But I don't really feel comfortable reviewing those now. I'll wait with those for a later time. But all you guys have to remember, if you want to go out and get roses now, is Weller Fragrance and Deep Secret. Those 2 will really be the ones I will rave the most about. They're wonderful red roses, really potent on fragrance. That was it for today, guys. If you have more questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, and let me know what you think about these different roses. Do you have a favorite, and which one are you looking forward to growing the most? And take care out there, guys.